It's Friday, July 29. In the headlines, Jamaica 60 Festival Song winner announced. Regionally, CARICOM's judiciary heads discusses technology in the justice system. And internationally, UK engulfed in cost of living crisis. In sports, India versus West Indies 5-match T20 International Series. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I am Simone Absalom Gale. The Crime Monitoring and Oversight Committee will meet with the Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, in early August to continue discussions with a view to look at effective monitoring of the government's national security initiatives. The meeting will also examine the realignment of the oversight framework to ensure that there is appropriate oversight and implementation of program going forward. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang and Chair of the Crime Monitoring and Oversight Committee, Lloyd Distant, met this week to discuss wide-ranging issues, various targets set via the consensus, as well as opportunities that currently exist for continued collaboration and dialogue to improve government legislative processes. Come September 22, Justice Leighton Pusey will lay down judgment on whether Roshane Barnett, who pleaded guilty on Thursday to killing his cousin and her 4 children last month, will receive the death penalty. Moments after he pleaded guilty, prosecutor Andrea Martin Swaby told Judge Pusey that Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn will accept his guilty plea. However, it will be up to Justice Pusey to make the final decision. Jamaica is moving steadily towards the development and deployment of renewable energy sources since the establishment of the National Energy Policy of 2019 to 2030. That's the word from Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for land, environment, climate change and investment portfolios, Daryl Vaz. Raquel Robinson has the details.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for the land, environment, climate change and investment portfolios, Daryl Vaz, explains that the policy aims to shift the island's heavy reliance on some energy-dependent sources.
We should establish the policy framework for the transformation of Jamaica's energy sector for an over-dependence on petroleum and high customer prices. This steady progression has seen the movement of the target for renewable energy shifting from 20% to the current 50% in order to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel.
Minister Vaz then went into detail about what the exact aims of the legislation are.
Madam Speaker, in developing these regulations, the Ministry engaged in consultations in 2017-2018 with the OUR and other stakeholders. Regulations are intended to provide a legal framework for generation of electricity by self-generators, provide the parameters to ensure that the grid is not negatively affected by net billing arrangements, enable structured alignment with the integrated resource plan for distributed energy resources on the grid, facilitate energy sector investment while ensuring transparency, safety, affordability, accessibility, sustainability, continuity, reliability, and consumer protection.
Minister Vaz says it is imperative to take into account other viable options for energy sources.
I wish to emphasize that as Jamaica considers the problems of energy supply, global warming, and our national climate goals, the passing of these regulations is critical to the government's attempt to provide opportunities for fuel diversification, development, and deployment of distributed renewable energy.
According to USAID, as of 2020, Jamaica's use of renewables accounted for approximately 11% of energy, with 6.5% being wind, 3.5% being hydropower, and 1% being solar. Reporting for PBCJ News, I'm Raquel Robinson.
Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says tablets that will be used by census takers to collect data in September will be repurposed and handed over to the Education Ministry.
You will be pleased to know that at the end of the census, the tablets will be transferred to the Tablets in Schools program, which is another example of government agencies working together.
This is the first time that the census is being done using tablets. As such, persons are being trained on how to navigate the devices and how to use the software to conduct the 2 questionnaires that will be used for data collection. Data collection will begin in September and is expected to end in December 2022, after which the information is compiled, analyzed, and a census report produced. The exercise is conducted once every 10 years and allows the country to take a snapshot of its population to determine, among other things, how many people reside within its borders, who they are, and where they live.
But the census information, even though it's a very important tool for policymakers in helping to formulate our policies, it's more than that. It's also a critical source of information for businesses and the people of Jamaica. Critical decisions are informed by the data coming out of the census. Members of this Honorable House, the census is a big deal.
Dr. Clark was speaking in the House of Representatives this week. The 15th Population and Housing Census was initially scheduled for 2021 but was delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic. The last census was done in 2011. 70 students across Clarendon and Manchester received scholarships and grants from Jamaica, totaling $10 million. The awards were presented in a ceremony in Hayes, Clarendon on Wednesday. Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, in delivering the keynote address, applauded the Bauxite and Alumina Company, Jamaica, for continuing its annual scholarship program, despite suffering a major fire last September. Jamaica's Education Assistance Program has been a feature of the company for the past 16 years. The 70 recipients, who were selected from a field of more than 350 applicants, include 24 multi-year awardees who, based on academic performance, continue to receive the support of the company. Entry to this year's Emancipation Jubilee at the Seville Heritage Park in St. Anne will be free of cost. The event will be held from July 31 into Emancipation Day on August 1. Emancipation Jubilee will honor the contribution of the African ancestors through song, dance, drumming, drama, food, and fashion. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, provided details in the House of Representatives on July 26.
On Sunday evening, we will gather at Seville Heritage Park in St. Anne for Emancipation Jubilee, where we will pay homage to our ancestors who fought and died for the freedoms we enjoy today.
Minister Grange also informed that a plaque will be unveiled in honor of late Pan-Africanist Mignon Phillips.
The late Mignon Phillips, the mother of Michael Phillips, a member of parliament, one of our colleague member of parliaments here. And she played a critical role in the return of the remains of two enslaved persons whose remains were buried at the back of the Great House, and they were transported back to Ghana, where they were reinterred.
Anticipation is high for the return of the major Dembi Agriculture, Industrial and Food Show by the Jamaica Agricultural Society. The 68th staging of the event, slated for July 30 to August 1, is being held under the theme Grow Smart, Eat Smart. It will take place at its usual home, the Dembi Showground in Maypen, Clarendon, and everyone is invited. Among the features of this year's show are a Youth in Agriculture Village, agricultural and horticultural displays, livestock displays, Children's Village, Health and Wellness Village, National Farm Queen Coronation, a gospel show, and more. On Saturday, July 30, dubbed the Minister's Day, the National Farm Queen Coronation will take place, as well as youth-centered activities. On Sunday, July 31, the Governor General's Day, and a Hypro Dembi Gospel Extravaganza is set to entice patrons. And then on Monday, August 1, the Prime Minister's Day. The event will culminate with a showcase of Jamaica's culture and an exciting local artist. 29-year-old Sakaj is the winner of the Jamaica 60 Festival Song Competition. The Jamaica Festival Song Competition started in 1966, and today it's the longest-running original song competition in the island. On Thursday, the public and judges chose this year's winner from 10 finalists. Here are the highlights.
No, we celebrate 60 years. We invite both young and them always out with, and the whole wide world know about we. Love Jamaica, now sell it out. Yeah, some people and grow say happy me country. Say I'm dreaming of a place where people can be free to live a full life that is good for you and me. Was a hard road to travel. Look at where we're coming from. Little by little, things unravel. Look at the country we become. Bring back the love, bring back the love. Bring back the love in a few we have done. Bring back the love, bring back the love. Bring back the love in a few we have done. Hey, do you remember 1962? On the 6th of August was the sweetest news. Independence Day, the whole island has celebrated. See, no one nobody tell me nothing but about my place. My place. Jamaica me born and grow, I will never migrate. Thank God we live for see. Any little problem we see. Look how me live for see. Can't believe somebody pension pick up me.
The deep drop the top and the seat, feel the breeze, take a drive through the country. Look how much fruit and trees, fish they are clean, tell me how me be hungry. I miss a look on the lush vegetation, what them call bush, and me call that love.
Put up your hand if you say good over evil. Praise the Lord and read up your Bible. Festival bring a joy to the people. The Diamond Jubilee is a blessing.
Your winner is the lone female Sakaj!
The singer from Sunnyside, St. Mary, is the 5th female to win the competition in its 56-year history, making it back-to-back winnings for 2 women. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, presented the winning trophy.
No one on nice like yeah. When time easy and when time hard, oh let's trip over we take our pride in a nice life. No one on nice like
Her Knowing a Nice Like Yard beat 9 other entries to take top honors and a prize of $3 million, which she will share with producer Newell Morgan.
no one on nice like yeah. And if you're proud and you play most of that, if I don't make most of that.
In the business report, Spurtree goes regional, plus your regular market updates. Danita Rodney is at the business desk.
Spurtree Spices is inked a deal with massive distributors to help the company to build market share and brand equity in the region. Spurtree Spices currently exports directly to the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Cayman Islands, Costa Rica, and Australia. This new partnership is expected to open the door of possibility to some other Caribbean region where Massey has both a distribution and retail footprint. Albert Bailey, CEO of Spurtree Spices, says he expects the brand to be carried along wherever Massey goes. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Thursday, July 28, the US dollar sold for an average of $154.19. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $122.59. The pound sterling traded for $185.54, and the euro sold for an average of $158.88. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Thursday's trading session. The JSE index declined by 1,907 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index declined by 129 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index declined by 2,945 points to close at over 300,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 2,610 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 105 stocks, of which 32 advanced, 52 declined, and 21 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, 1834 Investments Limited, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for Barita Investments Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Epley 7.50% preference shares due 2024, and Epley Limited. The following companies represent the overall volume leaders: Fosrich Company Limited with over 5 million units, Dollar Financial Services Limited, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Clico Investment Fund was the volume leader with over 16,000 shares, followed by Calypso Macro Index Fund with a volume of 487 shares being traded. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, One Caribbean Media Limited was the volume leader with over 4,000 shares, followed by Epley Caribbean Property Fund Development Fund, which traded 500 shares. In market data for oil prices rose in European trading as attentions turned to next week's OPEC Plus meeting and expectations that it will dash U.S. hopes for a supply boost. Brent crude gained $2.30 to $109.44, and West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose $2.20 to $98.62 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, on Thursday, CARICOM heads of judiciaries met in the Cayman Islands to discuss the use of technology in the justice system.
The Conference of CARICOM Chief Justices and Heads of Judiciaries began today at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman. The conference, hosted by Chief Justice, the Honourable Sir Anthony Smelly, includes 9 heads of judiciaries from jurisdictions in the Caribbean and Bermuda. Discussions will centre around the theme Administering Justice by Use of Information Technology, building on COVID-19 experiences. A key aim of the conference is to drive innovation in the administration of justice, especially in a crisis situation such as the COVID-19 pandemic.
In Belize, there will be a change in the proposed date for the referendum on the legalization of cannabis. Initially, the referendum had been tentatively set for September 4, in keeping with the process outlined in the Referendum Act, but due to concerns within the banking sector, the government of Belize decided to stall the Cannabis and Industrial Hemp Control and Licensing Bill 2022, which has already been passed through the lower and upper houses. According to Prime Minister John Bresciano, the church leaders have voiced concerns over the $5 million price tag attached to the execution of a referendum, given the current national economic challenges.
You are the ones that tell me, $5 million to spend at this time. And then also some members from the churches kind of reach out indirectly to say, well, they're concerned about it. We had a meeting with them, and in the meeting they agreed for us to be able to hold it, to stall it. What we have agreed in cabinet is that we're going to add, well, it's not an amendment because it's not a bill yet, it's not a law yet, but we're going to add a new clause into the bill to state, because the bill is ready to enact. It's gone through the Senate. We are going now to bring it to the House to put an amendment to the bill to say that before this is enacted into law, we must hold a referendum based on what the churches have asked. That is one. But ironically, the irony is the whole thing is that we were not ready to put this into law yet. Remember, we could have done this already. But a few weeks ago, Minister Koyi, in a meeting with the Banking Association, they were raising some concerns. I said, listen, if we legalize this in the United States and federally, it is still an illegal substance, and it could affect their corresponding banking relationships that they have. So they were asking if we could put a pause on it until we could address this issue. So that is why we had it on pause, because we have to address this issue. So even before we do go to that, we will have to address this. Once this is addressed, that we would not have a problem, or find a way how we could deal with that, then we will then meet with the informed, well, the churches and everyone that now we will be calling the referendum.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, as the 2022 early general election looms near, Premier Mark Brantley remains confident that current People's Labour Party PLP leader, Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, will not lead the country.
At a 28 July press conference in Charlestown, Premier Brantley said Dr. Harris had introduced undesirable elements into the politics of St. Kitts and Nevis, and none of the political parties will work with him.
But I'm confident, based on what I'm seeing, that this election on August 5th will be the last gasp of this PLP regime. And I'm confident that the country is going to breathe again and move on again in a way that unites us, rather than divides us. The divisiveness that we see now, I think, is unfortunate. We've taken several steps backwards. And it is time, I think, for all of our people to work towards unifying our people and unifying our country. And I am confident that our people on the 5th of August will do exactly that. If the PLP were to win any seats at all in St. Kitts, I believe that all the major political parties have already made it clear that they will not do business with the PLP, that they will not engage with the PLP. And that in and of itself speaks volumes. It seems to me that everybody else is willing to speak to each other, but nobody wants anything to do with the PLP. That level of toxicity that has been introduced into our body politic speaks for itself. This is not just CCM. PAM has said they don't want anything to do with PLP. Labour has said they don't want anything to do with PLP. And NRP that is involved with PLP is saying, don't tell anybody that we're involved with you. So there is clearly a situation where nobody wants to be publicly associated with the PLP. And that speaks for itself.
According to the Premier, Dr. Harris's views about Nevis, despite what he has said, does no good for Nevisians, nor for the progress of the country as a whole.
More vaccinations can lead to the lifting of the mask mandate. That is according to Bahamian Prime Minister Philip Davis, who says if 20,000 more people are vaccinated, the mandate will be lifted. The Prime Minister also says that science shows that those who are vaccinated are protected enough to go maskless.
I hope to do so next week. If you could assist us in getting another 20,000 persons vaccinated by next week, we'd like to have it up by next week. Yes, we know that you're tired wearing the mask, but if you get more of your friends vaccinated, your family members get vaccinated, and once you reach a certain percentage of our population being vaccinated, there's a scientific methodology to say that it is safe now to be maskless.
In news further afield, the United Kingdom is engulfed in a cost of living crisis brought on by post-pandemic price rises and the war in Ukraine. Inflation is predicted to pass the 10% mark. It's one of the world's richest economies, but 1 in 5 families now live in food and fuel poverty. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hall reports.
A hard-working mum and her 6 children. They were just about coping before the gas bill doubled and the cost of living crisis hit.
You can talk to them about why we can't afford fancy phones and flashy holidays and things like that, but when you're running out of the basics to get you through the week, that you feel like you're failing. You feel like you're failing.
The family reluctantly sought help. Sarah Dawson is a volunteer family support worker ferrying supplies to 90 families in the Cumbrian town of Penrith.
Many of our families are really reluctant to come forward because they feel like, they should be able to provide for their children and provide for themselves.
On the edge of the Lake District, this picturesque facade hides a seam of poverty that runs deep and is growing. With inflation set to pass 10%, 1 in 5 households across the UK is failing to meet its weekly bills, and things are likely to get worse.
We're in the height of summer now, and over autumn and winter there's going to be a real worry about whether families can, they may have to choose between feeding the family or keeping the family warm.
At the Salvation Army food bank in town, there's been a bumper supply of donations from a major supermarket. Volunteers date and stack the products ready for collection by a fast increasing number of visitors.
We're getting people that are working, and so they're on income, but they're still needing help because they can't budget their money out to cover everything.
Government assistance with energy bills hasn't done enough for the poorest, while a universal credit uplift during the pandemic has since been withdrawn, all of which leaves an enormous number of families up and down the country in food and fuel poverty, with nowhere to turn but charity for help. The government, meanwhile, is otherwise occupied. The candidates in a lengthy contest to succeed Boris Johnson have promised further help, but after a summer of holiday gridlock and public sector strikes, it'll be the autumn before the new Prime Minister can get to grips with an economy on the verge of recession.
I don't expect to have a lot. I just expect to be able to pay my bills and my food, and not have to be constantly worrying over every single penny that goes out of this house.
For the worst off, then, the prospect of a winter ahead with yet higher prices and the dreadful choice of whether to heat or eat.
In sports, after clinching the ODI series, Team India and West Indies will lock horns in a 5-match T20 international series. The first T20I is being played in Trinidad, followed by St. Kitts for a second and third T20I, and then finally to the United States in Florida for the 4th and 5th. The series will conclude on Sunday, August 7 in Florida.
History will be made as the first T20 International will be played at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Tarouba, and White Ball captain Nicholas Pooran says the Windies are excited to play at a high-scoring venue.
Conditions are really good for batting, and I think the batsmen are looking forward to that challenge. Maybe India batsmen are looking forward to that challenge as well, but I think it's going to come down to skills and execution. India is a good team. We have good players as well. We are starting to become a good team as well. So I think the challenge is going to be there. I think it's all about execution tomorrow.
Meanwhile, India captain Rohit Sharma said he recognizes the threat that Windies possess.
It's going to be an exciting one, and at the same time a challenging one as well, because we do understand the potential that the West Indies team has, particularly in this particular format. You know, they cherish playing this format, and it's going to be a challenging one for us. But yeah, at the same time, you know, talking about our guys, I think everyone's looking, you know, ready to go. So yeah, we'll try and work out some things and try and achieve something from this series as well.
That match bowls off at 10:30 a.m. Trinidad and Tobago time.
Captain of the West Indies cricket team, Nicholas Pooran, has urged students attending a Ministry of Education vacation revision program in Port of Spain to value their education. Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell has the details.
Scores of students who turned out to the Ministry of Education's vacation revision program at Tranquility Government Secondary School on Thursday got an unexpected treat. Several members of the West Indies cricket team visited the school and interacted with the students. Team captain Nicholas Pooran shared the story of his near-death experience at age 19 and his second chance at life before offering them some words of advice.
But I don't want you guys to make the same mistake I made by not realizing the importance of education. The faster you understand the importance of education is the first step you take in maturing in life.
Meanwhile, former team captain Jason Holder complimented the Education Ministry on the Vacation Revision Initiative.
I think it's very, very important to have that balance, not only from a sporting perspective, but obviously an academic perspective as well too. So it's good that, people are given that second opportunity, and, just hopefully that each and every kid matures, at their own speed and rate, and then obviously understand the importance and significance of a good education.
Members of the school's cricket team were also on hand to meet and get some pointers from the West Indies team members.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks for watching.